All right, all right, all right. Welcome to I Bleed Orange Sports Network. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're excited such a time as this. Today was actually the first day of spring, and, I went to the gym early this morning, and it was 31 degrees. I was wearing shorts the other day. I think sundown, walking around short sleeve shirt. But, spring kind of awakens you. You're getting more daylight time, warmer weather coming up. Baseball's really getting cooking. We're entering the NCAA tournament. We got the big dance going on. So there's a lot going on. Baseball team, I think, is playing as we speak, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Before I get started, let me just mention a little bit about what's going on. We got a spring game coming up, April the 6th, and we've got 2 live shows we're doing. We're doing one over at the Shepherd Hotel, and it's going to be before the game at 10 a.m. And Bixby's, which is a property management place, which is kind of – it's on College Avenue. It's kind of down there near Walcombs. We're going to be doing a show later. So anybody wants to get together and tailgate with us, come on to the show, and we'll follow us on down. It's just a good time. You ever been to a spring game? It's just – it's really – there's no pressure there. It's Clemson playing Clemson, all right? So you want to see a good game. You want to see some of the new guys play. You don't want anybody to get hurt. At the end of the day, there's no pressure, Yep. So let me just introduce a couple sponsors that came on board here recently. We had Backstreet Barbecue. They came on a couple weeks ago. They're actually going to put together some tailgating barbecue for us. Got Allstate, Michael Dent. He came on board. Speaking about Shepherd Hotel, they're going to come on board as a sponsor Thursday, and that's where we're going to do the show. So Shepherd Hotel, which is right there in downtown Clemson, if you say IBO sent you, they'll probably work out a deal. They'll give you 10% off. So a lot of our customers work out deals. You go to Anderson Ford, and you buy a car down there, they give you $500 back on a rebate. So we're growing like crazy. Just hired a photographer today, professional photographer for being on the field. And just, I Bleed Orange is just growing. It's mind-boggling. And this podcast is taking off. We've got some really good names on here. And we're supposed to have Jerry Butler on here, and all of a sudden, at the last moment, he had something about his computer got hacked, and he couldn't get on. So I met with the guy today, about this photography thing, and then it led me to another guy that led me to the girl that messaged me, that messaged you, Uber Queen. Is that her name? I don't know her first name. They call her Uber Queen. And so we reached out like around 2 or 3 o'clock, and we got Professor Yearg. Is that how you say it?
Yes, sir. Professor Yearg. Yes, sir.
And
I've always pronounced it wrong then.
I was doing a little research, and I pulled up the Fox News and saw that you were on there I think the 15th, the day's the 19th. I was doing a little research, and it looks like you came into Clemson about the time that anybody would want to come into Clemson. 2014, time to shine, arrived on campus, and things were really starting to take off, and we had that run. But it also said that you played against Oklahoma in that bowl game, and I remember that bowl game. You got your first sack.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and so I read up a little bit on it, but I don't want to tell your story. That's why we have you here. We're so glad that you came on, and without any further ado.
When I heard that you were coming on tonight, I was like so excited because I remember that game, and when you hit that dude so hard, I yelled out, "Yeah!" And that's why I said I pronounced your name wrong, and I deeply apologize. But I was yelling so loud, I think my neighbors was going, "What's a Yeargin?"
So what brought you to Clemson? Where were you originally from?
So originally from South Florida, born and raised for 17 years as I came to Clemson at the age of 17. What brought me to Clemson, to be very specific, was a man named Coach Dabo Sweeney and another man named Coach Brent Venables, who both recruited me. During my time period in high school, obviously finished as All-American, all these great things. However, like I said, I knew coming to Clemson was going to be a bit of a challenge because we were pretty deep at defensive end. And so for me to decide to want to come to Clemson, I knew, it wasn't going to be, you're going to come in and start, or you're going to come in and play right away. You're going to actually need to come in and develop. And I bought into that idea of, even though you're a high ranked guy and all these things, you come into a place where defensive end is gold here. right? Like you want to play defensive end at Clemson University. And so I saw the opportunity, like I said, to come in, to develop and have an opportunity to make an impact in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say, a lot of people kind of want to call Clemson as the, wide receiver U or, running back U sometimes. But you know what? We've had some amazing defensive ends come through that school.
Oh, yeah.
So I've always said we're more of a DL, DE line U,
Come on.
How's it like being under Venables? I mean, he's always been one of my favorite coaches. I hated when he left, but I understood why he did. But he can motivate you. It didn't seem like anybody could.
Man, let me tell you this. The first time he met me when I was in high school, I was in 10th grade. And he was like, man, how much you weighing? What you weighing, big guy? And I'm like, man, I don't even know right now. Like, I haven't checked my weight today. But it was just in that moment, like just his energy, right? What he gives off is like the details, it's the little things. Like you got to know that. Like you got to know how much you weigh. You got to know how much you bench. You got to know how much you. And so that was my first real experience with, a college coach coming and visiting me, talking to me, and then from there, Clemson offered me, as a sophomore going into my junior year before I even became a household name of any kind. And so, I would say Coach Venables is someone who really knows the game of football and knows how to identify talent. You may pass on the kid or you may pass on the guy, but Coach Venables sees the world in you. Before you even see it in yourself. And so I would say that's what separates him from a lot of the other, coaches that recruit is, they don't have an eye for development. They just want the guy when he's ready. But Coach Venables saw me before anyone else saw me. And so I could say, that is what drew me to him. That is what drew me to Clemson. And that is what's helped so many guys develop. I mean, you think about, the Grady Jarretts of the world who came in and wasn't an overly highly rated guy, but I mean, he left Clemson. He knew football really well backwards and forwards, and he's still playing in the NFL 8-9 years later. You know what I'm saying? 8-9 years later. And there's just so many guys and so many projects and things that, he's produced, and had his hands in per se, that the proof is in the pudding, right? He knows what he's doing.
So when you're a little kid and you start playing sports, was football the thing you were drawn to? And you look, I mean, did you in your mind see a future there?
Man, when you grow up in South Florida, football is like one of the first things that you're introduced to before the Bible. It's the Mecca, right? So it's Jesus, then it's football, right? To be honest with you, it's ingrained in me. I grew up like any other kid playing roughhousing in the street. Starting out very unorganized, very unorthodox and untraditional. And then bam, you jump into Little League at, 6-7 years old, right? And you start getting some structure around, the game of football and start building and cultivating the actual love for the game, right? You're building team camaraderie, all these different things. And, you're in your mind, right? Like, let's just be real. Football is your way out, right? To finally go on and do bigger and better things in your life. And so I would say for me, at a younger age, I didn't know that football would be, what it was or what it turned out to be for me. But, over the course of time and sticking with it and having the discipline, the dedication, and really avoiding getting distracted, right? Like, I think that was the hardest thing, was not being pulled by other friends and other directions, and saying no to a lot of things is what really made my yes towards saying I want to play college football firm in 9th grade, right? So I made that decision that 9th, 10th grade, like, hey, I want to play football at the next level and really be serious. Because before that, I was just kind of messing around and I didn't really know what I had, right? Like, I didn't know I actually had a talent or had a gift that was going to pay for me to play at the next level.
Now, was Clemson even on your radar, like at any time, or until Venables came down there and talked to you, or was Miami? Because I know Miami had to be up the alley right there.
Yeah.
So funny you mentioned that. Miami was my childhood team growing up, right? Like, I used to go to University of Miami Hurricanes games, watch them on TV. Grew up in South Florida. That's kind of the way of life, right? So for me, I would say this. I didn't even know where Clemson was. when I first offered. I'm gonna be honest, right?
1981, I think it was ESPN or ABC.
I just want to be completely transparent in how much I did not know about. Yeah. So I grew up a University of Miami Hurricanes fan. However, my father and my brother both attended South Carolina State. And so my father didn't play football at South Carolina State. However, my brother did. And he walked on, played, won a bunch of MEAC championships back in 05, 06, 07, and 08. And so I would oftentimes travel up as a kid to South Carolina. We would travel through Clemson because we would oftentimes either take the train or we would drive or, you know, something like that, right? Like it was always like a me and my dad trip, right? Like my brother and I were 11 and a half years apart. So my childhood, it was, I spent a lot of time, I guess, around or passing by Clemson, just didn't know it was actually in South Carolina. I actually thought it was in Virginia. And so when Coach Brent Venables came down and I saw that orange paw for the first time really and made sense of it and actually had a conversation with him, I couldn't wait to get up here and get on campus. That summer was my first time actually coming up and visiting Clemson. And man, I was like, man, this is special. This is different. Like it's really
different. It is. There's something about it. Something in those hills.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, that slogan will never die just because of the simple fact of if we can get you on campus, there's something about
we've had a
draws you in
on this podcast that worked for this area, and they said as soon as they stepped on campus, there was something about the atmosphere, something about the community that just sold them on the whole thing. So. Yeah, I mean, I was born in Clemson. I was going to Clemson games before I was even born because I'm a December baby. My mom was married to my dad, so I it was in my blood. So now I own a Clemson Sports Company network.
Come on.
Pretty cool.
So I gotta ask because we don't usually get too much inside information like the way it was with Venables. Mm-hmm. Is he as animated as he is during a game? Is he like that during practice?
Oh, even worse. I mean, practice is harder than the game. I'll put it that way.
Who was the guy that held him back? What was that guy's name?
Coach Smoke. That was my weight room.
Yeah, that was his job. It seemed like
that was a part of it.
Did he have to come out there and practice and pull him back at practice too?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It started in practice. So in practice, we're practicing for the game. So the level of intensity that he coached with in the game. Imagine that in practice, like, and it's 3rd and 1. We come out, practice is unconventional at best on this day. So, Coach Sweeney's like, we're going to start on 3rd and 1 goal line. I mean, like he coaching that down like it's the last down he's ever going to coach. I'm like, man, like, this is the kind of coach you want, right? Like, I mean, you think it's hard on game day from him? It's even tougher in practice 5 days a week leading up to that.
I would say that is one of the coaches that I will truly miss out of all the coaches. I mean, obviously, I'm going to miss Dabo if he ever leaves, but out of all the coaches, I couldn't stop laughing and enjoying watching his enthusiasm during a game.
Yeah.
And I always wondered if he was just like that during a practice, like if he was just as animated.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But one of my favorite stories is when Dabo was talking about they were supposed to be like this team thing, and everybody's supposed to be like quiet and like relaxing the mind. And he said he looked up and there's Venables with a paper and just scribbling like plays and this going nuts. Like I died laughing because I'm like, yeah, I can totally see that.
So the best thing I remember was leading up to the national championship game the second time around because of, obviously losing in 2015 and the taste that left in our mouth. And, even without a shadow of a doubt, we had watched enough film. We were more than prepared. And we knew we had an opportunity to go ahead and seize a win. But it was the preparation leading up to game time. Like, I mean, you thought Ben Boulware was a leader just because Ben Boulware is a natural leader. But you take Ben Boulware and you take Brent Venables and their level of preparation, both individually, and then you spread that throughout the rest of the team. I mean, it's electric. It's like a flame. And I tell you what, the reason why we have, this here or however that there is because it wasn't we won on the day of the game, and you like how I make you like that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
It wasn't because of what we did on the day of the game. It was what we kept doing leading up to the hour of the game. the preparation of waking up every morning, despite the fact that we knew the formations, we knew everything. And Coach Venables had literally, I mean, he went and grabbed plays that Alabama would possibly run from like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago from a coordinator that probably was coaching at another school. And I mean, we were that locked in, like that's how intense everything was in terms of we won't make the same mistakes again and not be prepared.
Yeah, I have unfortunately, I have a cousin that's a diehard Alabama fan. And that 2015 year, man, he laid it on hard and this and that. And I said, don't worry, we'll see you again. We'll see you again.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I didn't expect it to be the very next year. I mean, I was hoping, but I didn't think we would get there right away. But, man, I couldn't believe it. And I was like, come on, let's get it. And, you know, it's funny. You can't see it right now, but up on my fridge over here, him and his mother actually gave me this handcrafted, painted Alabama beer glass. And they said, oh, we just wanted you to have your man cave classed up with this, you know? So, you know, I was like, okay, all right, I got you, you know? So that whole year I had to listen to it. And then when, you know, 2016, you know, man, when we won that game, I let the entire neighborhood know. And I actually found a towel that said Alabama crying towel. And I sent that to him and said, maybe this will class up your room.
That's good. I like that.
I'm probably a little bit older than you, but that's okay. You'll get there one day. But born in 1968 and, you know, grew up going to Clemson games. And, you know, really the Gator Bowl back then, we'd go down to Jacksonville. I remember when we played Pittsburgh and Tony Dorsett was the running back and they blew us out. And that was a good year. And, you know, nobody expected. I remember 1981 came along and Danny Ford stepped up there and we weren't expecting, you know, Charlie Pell stepped down. I guess he got fired and Danny stepped up and nobody was really expecting a national championship. And my whole theory has always been behind every great team is a great coach. And Danny Ford came up, was able to inspire the people. And I remember going to some of those games. We beat Georgia, Herschel Walker, you know, never scored a touchdown against us. And I remember I didn't, you know, we played in the Orange Bowl. I didn't go to it, but I remember, I don't know how old I was, 11, 12, 13 years old. And I'm standing at, we painted a big paw. I lived in Spartanburg at the time. And painted a big paw out there, a big old orange paw. And the Herald Journal News came by, took a picture before the game. And my parents had a big old Orange Bowl party. And I remember winning that. And nobody expected that, you know. And then we went 30-something years, 34 years. And we had what's his name, Todd's boy's mother on the other night, a couple of weeks ago. We're talking about that fourth and 16, 17. They kind of changed things around. And you started seeing, and then Dabo came on board. And I remember when Dabo, I came home to see that, and Clemson's going to announce a new coach, and I'm watching Dabo, and I'm like, who is this guy, you know? And he was speaking it almost into existence. He was talking about, you know, it's been 30-something years, but it ain't got, so it's kind of the tipping point of Clemson football. And then you came along right about the time, at the time where everything started turning. And I remember seeing the Deshaun Watson and hearing about Deshaun Watson. I remember when he played that first game against North Carolina, threw for 7 touchdowns. I'm like, this dude's special. So the energy, and then he got the ACL, and then, you know, he kind of had to sit out, you know, and actually played in the Carolina game. And then we went and they had Cole Stout played in the Orange Bowl. And so that season started out. I will never forget 2016. Not only there was the first championship, you know, we went to the championship and then won the following year. Do you remember, like, 2016, we had about 6 or 7 games that could go on either way. Yeah. I mean, the one with Notre Dame when Ben came around, the rainstorm, the one with Syracuse where we stopped Lamar Jackson. So it was just an incredible season. And I remember sitting out there. I had a man cave, you know, when I was married. I'm not married now, but it was about 50, 60 yards back in the back because they said I yelled too loud during the game. So I was like, my wife's like, well, you can get a man cave. I said, great idea. So I go out there and yell. And everybody said we played better when I was in the man cave. And I remember sitting out there and when we got the ball back and we were driving and we had 2 minutes left or something, and just watch. I just sit down the whole time. And I remember when Deshaun rolled out, threw it to Renfro, and he scored. I mean, like you, I woke up some neighbors because it was late. It was about 12 o'clock.
Yep.
We lived out in the country, but it didn't matter. We had a garden there that we always planted in the summer, and it was in January, and all the plants were dead and everything. There's some like steel stakes sitting up, and I was running through there yelling, and and I'd cut my jeans. I mean, it was like 25, 28 degrees out. I remember it was cold. And, cut my jeans, and I didn't realize I'd ripped up my shin. Anyways, went to sleep that night. Next day, I had I got like 3 or 4 hours sleep. Didn't even bother. I was running on adrenaline. So happy we'd won. And got up the next day. My wife's looking at my leg. She said, "What in the heck did you do to your leg?" I didn't even feel it.
Come on.
I still got stitches.
Come on.
But it was just a special year. We'd hit the throat. We'd broken through, and we saw it could be possible. And then now it's like the standard. And then from that point on, for the next couple of years, we're in the running about every year. So this was a special time.
Yeah. So one of the questions I've always wanted to ask, and I couldn't wait to get a member of the team from that year. Mm-hmm. I know going into the locker room at halftime during that championship game, we were down just a little bit there. I mean, what was the demeanor in there? Like, what did you guys have any doubt, or did y'all just did a leader step up and turn it around in there? Or what was it like in the locker room at halftime? So
you recall, a lot of the games. And so one of the games that was a defining moment for us was Pitt, right? But before Pitt, another game that was a defining moment for us was Troy, right? Remember, we were getting booed. Let's just be real, right? We were getting booed at halftime.
Yeah, it was hot. I was close
with Troy. So we had already been kind of flirting with that line of we know when we play at our best, no one can really play with us, but we know when we play down to the rest of the competition, we're kind of, and so we realized we're not in the same fight that we were last year with Alabama, which was we didn't know how good we actually were, and we got there, and it was kind of like, wow, we're here. We're here, and we're going to own this space. And so when we went back out, one of the things that was said during halftime, specifically by D-Watt, was, if I get the ball with the final seconds in the game, we're going to win it. And I remember him coming to the bench and telling the defense to sit down. They left too much time on the clock. Let me go to work. And I mean, that energy from the locker room and the leadership up to the final seconds is what did it, right? That belief system of we've already been challenged. We've already shown people okay, here's what we look like when we don't play our best. But if we play a complete game and actually accelerate and really give it all we got, we're gonna win this game. And I mean, it was beautiful. It was like a perfect ending to a movie.
Oh, it was. I've watched that thing. I don't know how many times.
It was
bored, feel a little down. I just stick that thing in and play it. Every play, man.
Come on.
I mean, the catches that were made. Wayne Gallman with the run that he made off that little swing pass. I mean,
he got hit. He kind of just bounced back and took off.
It was just like you said, almost scripted like a movie. I mean,
yeah. It was like it was destined. It was like it was destined to happen, because like I said, we literally could have played our way out of not having had that opportunity based on a couple of the games earlier in the season, or, based on
what was it? That was the same year that we lost to Pitt, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that last second field goal.
And it was the shovel pass that just killed us.
Yeah, correct. I remember that. Correct. They were doing that over and over again.
Yep. So, we had already been battle tested, I felt like. And, that halftime momentum that we needed was, hey, here's the plan. And if we're in this position, which we ended up being in that position, then we're going to win the game. And it was we spoke it. We spoke life.
I can't even imagine what Venables was like that week after the Pitt game, where defense just wasn't there for that one game, and that shovel pass just kept killing us and over. And it was like, I mean, as a fan, you're yelling, just stop the shovel pass.
I can tell you a funny story about that. I had this shirt that I wore to the Troy game. It was just a basic Clemson shirt. It was different than any Clemson, because I got a lot of Clemson stuff. And I had this. I'm not superstitious, except when it comes to football. So I wore it, and I wore it, and I wore it. Well, I happened to be out of town for the Pitt game, and I forgot to pack it. And so, I wore the rest of the games and won the national championship. And then, went to this divorce and all. Anyways, ended up losing the shirt. And I found it this summer. And it was in, one of these boxes in the storage unit. And anyways, I got it out. And I said, this is it. We're going to win a national championship. So I put it on for the Duke game. And I guess it just wore out as welcome. But anyways, I took it off at halftime because we weren't playing good against Duke. But it's funny how we get superstitious about stuff like that.
Well, every time we play Notre Dame, I wear the BYOG T-shirt.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a black cat can walk in front of me. I can break a mirror. I can go in a ladder. It doesn't affect me. When it comes to football, I'm changing seats. I'm trying all kinds of things out.
Yeah.
So life has a fun. We don't always know how it's going to end up. Things happen. God's got a purpose. A lot of people ask me how it started. I Bleed Orange, and it really started with a flat tire. I don't really have time to tell that story, but they actually started this company from a flat tire on the side of the road. That idea and all that. So read a little bit about your story. In 2017, I was on the weekend, and you were in Greenville, and it was raining, and you decided to go eat at a Caribbean restaurant, and you're coming down a ramp. And maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that point in your life, up until that point, and then how that got you to where you are now.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you kind of providing a segue into that. So June 3rd, 2017, for context, was a summer day. It was raining. It was actually a ton of accidents on the highway that day. And we were having a series of youth camps and things going on that summer. And so that day I was like, hey man, I'm going to get me something to eat. I'm going to go to Greenville. It's a really, really good Jamaican restaurant that I like called Jamaican Me Irie. So I was like, man, I'm going to go get me something to eat. I'm going to head back.
Yeah.
So I stopped, I get gas, it's raining. And I remember saying to myself, man, if I can just make it home. That feeling that you ever get.
Those summer rains are kind of tough.
I just want to make it to my destination safely. And so keep in mind, I'm driving, not going fast or doing anything crazy, and hadn't drank or done anything crazy like that. So just context, right? It's just.
You're on a ramp?
Yeah. Imagine you driving, right? And that 385 ramp right there, southbound behind Magnolia Park as you're leaving Greenville, and you have to kind of get off and veer to the right if you're going to take 85.
385 or 85?
It was 385.
385, going on the 85.
Yeah. Okay. So it's I
was there today.
Yep. So it's like a ramp you got to take. And so remember at the time, there was a lot of construction going on in that area. So what happened was they were expanding the lane. So the lane didn't really have any specific markings or anything like that, but it was
just raining.
Right. Plus it's raining. Right. Yeah. And so my tires locked, right, as I'm trying to merge into a right lane. And from what I remember from that point moving forward, tires locked, car skidded, goes off the road and kind of slides at a fast rate. And I can't control the wheel, obviously. So I lose control. And next thing you know, there's a culvert / ditch on the side of the road that's not marked. And that's what I hit. And that's what caused my car to flip. Because otherwise, the car would have just slid off the road into the grass and maybe hit a fence, right? But this culvert is what it went into, came out of, and apparently tumbled twice. And that's where everything just went white. And literally, I'm on the side of the road. I'm trying to get out of the vehicle.
You're upside down at this point.
Yeah, I'm upside down at this point. So I'm I hit the door and I roll out of the car. And I'm all I can remember was being down on my knees in the middle of the rain, asking God, please, pick me back up. Because I'm I didn't have any more control over my body, over anything. I was just wiped out. Yeah. And next thing you know, there was help on the way, ambulance and so on and so forth. And I'm in the hospital fighting for my life, trying to put the pieces of the puzzle back together as the doctor is giving me the play-by-play of what happened and what could have happened. And I'm well, none of this makes me feel any better. The fact that one, you could have either been dead, or two, you could be paralyzed for the rest of your life, right? But that's not the case for you on either side, right? Your case is you're going to need some time away from the game of football and just everything in general to be able to just heal. And then we can reassess and reevaluate a year from now what that's going to look like with you going back into physical contact and playing sports. So I was like, I mean, it's not what you want to hear at all. Like nobody, but
no.
I'm glad I woke up, one, and two, that I wasn't paralyzed for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of colleges do this, but it seems like anytime a player has ever gotten, a serious injury of some sort, be it off the field, on the field, to me, it seems like Clemson kind of rallies around that person and lifts them up. And it's like, hey, you know what? Don't worry about this. You're still got a place here, I mean, I don't know of any other college that really kind of does that. I mean, I don't hear many stories. Usually it's like, oh, that person's no longer on the team, but it seems like Clemson really kind of rallies around those types of people and just, you know what, your family, you're always going to be family. It'll never change.
I mean, to your point, let me make a point. So I wake up in the hospital the next day. Coach Venables, Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant, Christian Wilkins, Mr. Lawrence, the whole defensive line, Coach Todd Bates, in the hospital there with me, praying with me.
You play with great guys.
Play-by-play, giving you play-by-play. I transitioned out of the hospital a couple of days later after being in there for give or take 3 or 4 days. I could just call it a week. I get home. Miss Sweeney's there, bringing me food, bringing me snacks, bringing me things. And then transition, I'm in bed. I'm on bed rest, for the next month or so. I get a call from my weight room coach, Coach Smo. Hey, man, I want you to, no matter what, just come in, be around the guys, just be around everything, like figure out, the rest later. Like, obviously, I know you trying to figure out life and try to move around and so I want to get you back in the fold, get you back going. And so, I mean, really from there, man, for me, it was so easy to isolate yourself and be depressed and kind of be off by yourself. You know what I'm saying? But like, they wouldn't allow me to. Like, they kept bringing me back in. They kept making sure that I felt supported and I felt needed still, even though I wasn't able to fulfill the need on the field. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, just providing perspective to younger guys, realizing that it's not about me anymore. It's about trying to help the rest of y'all. Right. Yeah. And really having to shift your heart posture from, getting served to doing the serving, was one of the biggest challenges. Right. And being okay with that. Right. And whatever that may look like, whether that looks like you helping develop a younger guy that's coming in and that's a 5-star, he could potentially take your position, right, in the future. Right. And you have to say to yourself, like, I'm not going to hinder his process or try to slow him down. I'm going to help develop him. And whatever comes from it, comes from it. Healthy competition. Right. Yeah. And trying to collaborate and just trying to figure out what all that looked like. It was very strange for me having been, just in a position where in 6 months you could potentially declare for the NFL draft or come back to school, get your degree. And then, you know what I'm saying? So like my mindset was like, man, like it was so focused and fixated on me. And then when it became about we, then it was like, oh, okay, now I see I'm really tapping into purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
And Clemson seems to be a we program, not a me program.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And, and that's the one thing that I love. You can – other colleges can claim it's a family, but I don't think there's any other family better than a Clemson family. So
yeah, they all come. I mean, the hospital the next day. That's just awesome. I mean, that's what it's all about. Stuff happens. I mean,
yeah.
So a little bit down the road from there, what happened after that?
Yeah. So I mean, after that, I got back home. Started the process of recovering, of healing. Still going to class physically as best as I can. Showing up, in a neck brace, taking notes. Showing up to training table, showing up to therapy, rehab, mentally and physically. That was probably the hardest part, right? Like those first 3 months of sitting there with your pen and pad, writing down your emotions, and then going to find somebody to talk to about it, right? And frustrations and things that you dealt with. And so very thankful for, figures like Jeff Davis, right? And having access to things like Paul Journey, and that gives you access to mentors, and people that provide you with a broader perspective than, your 20, 21-year-old mind can comprehend at that point in time. You know, and so for me, man, it was more mental than it was physical every day of telling myself,
I bet. Yeah.
You're not paralyzed, right? Like you're not a disabled veteran, right? Like you could easily feel that way, right? Like a wounded soldier, right? Like how do I remove myself from this pain that I'm feeling, right? Like I'm in the thick of the fight, but I have to constantly tell myself to be at peace. Like that's hard, you know? And so I think that process, going through that for those first 3 months, and then transitioning, getting my degree still as I had planned, and getting my undergrad in 3.5 years was a big accomplishment for me at that time and helped boost my morale, because then I started my master's degree and I shifted into becoming a student coach / GA during that time period. You know, and that gave me a whole different perspective in terms of like preparing me for what I'm doing now, if that makes sense. Like I didn't realize my assignment then was preparing me for my assignment now, if that makes sense.
Right.
I would say I was grounded in servant leadership, right? And getting in and serving and doing what I can, whether that's helping guys break down film, whether that's being out there on the field and helping coach, whether that's, you know, in the classroom, right? Teaching, right? Doing some graduate assistant stuff there, right? Like just finding ways to add value and feel like you're still of service and still of need, right? Despite your ailment, despite your physical limitations and so on and so forth. So you know, I would say that time period is where I really became a man, right? Like aged, I had my first son after the second national championship. And, you know, I really didn't know what football was for me anymore. I didn't know whether I was done. I didn't know whether I was going to continue to play. You know, and I think where I gained clarity was, you know, when I tried to attempt to come back in 2018 at that fall, and I ended up tearing my labrum. I ended up further damaging my neck and then also needing surgery. That really made me say, you know what, I got to take a step back from the game and I need to physically, medically retire. You know, and so that was a very depressing time for me, I would say. I was not myself. I definitely had a downward spiral. Physically and emotionally. Because like I said, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. I've been groomed my whole life to go to the NFL to make it out of my situation back home. And now I'm no longer able to do that, right? And I can't grasp like how I'm going to figure this out. And so I literally, as the person mentioned, I just had to keep trusting God and his timing, and that everything will work out, and you know that he performs miracles and he does all these miraculous things. And you know, that second opportunity after those 2 years to go back and play again at Boston College was that primetime opportunity for me. And I'm very thankful for trusting the process and Coach Sweeney granting me that second breath of wind, you know, to go and play and do that despite, you know, having medically retired from Clemson.
Now, what's your transition been like from going from being on the field, sidelines, to now in the classroom?
You know what? I tell people this, it doesn't change. It's all the same to me, right? So you're dealing with young people, right? And I was once a young person, you know, ages 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 even, right? Because I'm dealing with undergrads and grads in our athletic leadership program. And one of the common things that you find is, as long as you can get to their hearts and speak to them and who they really are, you'll easily have access to their intellect and be able to grow them as students, right? And so it's a different way in which you go about it, because I'm not with them every day. I don't see them every day, but my presence is still felt with them every day, simply based on the level of care that I provide my students and provide the work that I do, because this is who I am, right? Like Clemson is a large part of my identity. For the past 10 years of my life, you know, I've seen the ups and downs, the highs and lows of it all. And I'm now in a position where all of those experiences and things that I have, I get to share it every single day and make someone else's life better, just like I did before, right? So it really is no difference for me.
Now cool. you're teaching, if I understand this correctly, you're a professor. Your class is about coaching and whatnot. Is that correct?
Yep. So principles of coaching at the interscholastic high school level. So high school administrators, high school football coaches, basketball, high school coaching in general, right? The scope of it. and then high school teachers, right? So my class helps you get prepared for life after and what that looks like in terms of if you wanted to go back into coaching or if you wanted to go into teaching or becoming an administrator. It helps give you the foundational tools that you need to equip you on that journey of further discovering, like, okay, this is what I want to do, or, you know, this might not be what I want to do, you know?
Yeah. Cool. Sounds like you.
And I think I saw something too, like you're doing something a little bit with the NIL.
Yeah. So my research is centered around NIL, name, image, and likeness, and the different practices around it from a branding standpoint, also from a character development standpoint. So different programmings, you know, for instance, like we have Paul Journey here at Clemson University, which would kind of be our form of, you know, NIL development in a soft skills way, you know, as well as kind of promoting your brand, as well as community engagement. So taking a look at different programs around the country that have, you know, different programs that touch on different things. And it's not always specifically related to NIL, but it helps support NIL efforts.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you know LaVon Kirkland?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was on our podcast, what, about a month ago?
Yeah.
I know he's in town. He does some stuff with NIL.
Yep.
Good dude. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Love him.
And that kind of brings me into kind of segue into this question here is, you know, since you were a player,
I knew this
college football has changed dramatically in like
really
a short period of time with the transfer portal and the NIL and all that. You know, your transfer portal was always there when you were there, but not at the extent that it is today. Do you think that the transfer portal is starting to hurt college football or kind of helping it? What's your thoughts on the portal?
I put it this way: I play devil's advocate because I utilize the transfer portal to my benefit, right? And it was with probable cause, right? And having exhausted all of what you could exhaust at one institution, and then going to another institution, and then picking up kind of where you left off. And so I would say, you know, if you have a legitimate reason or a legitimate case for why you're doing it versus you have situations where emotions, right? You're a young person. Oh, I don't like the way coach talked to me, or, you know, I don't like the playing time that I'm not getting, and you're not real with yourself. And then you jump in the transfer portal. So then you see these inflated numbers year after year where it's progressively getting worse. And so what's happening is it's killing the retention rate for college, right? So, I mean, you got a guy who's bouncing around doing this and that, and he's been to 3 or 4 different schools. Where's the accountability? Where's the lay of the land at in terms of the NCAA saying, look, like there are certain time windows or there are certain things that negate you being able to just go and do as you please, right? I mean, I know there's an argument, you know, with coaches being able to go and leave, but that's a little bit different. Like there needs to be guardrails and things in place because
I agree with you.
You know, your academics it's important, right? Like if I didn't get my undergrad and my master's and take advantage of what Coach Dabo Swinney provided me, I wouldn't have the role at Clemson University that I have today, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would have limited my access if I didn't stay and receive all that there was for me to receive here at Clemson, right? And if I would have made an emotional decision and just left and not gotten it, then I would have regrets in my life today. So I would say this, right? Like the transfer portal, it is good and it is also not so good, right? And I think, you know, the leadership there is lacking, right? Whoever's supposed to be, you know, encouraging or instilling, you know, the right characteristic traits within college athletics, somebody dropped the ball, you know.
I feel like it kind of takes away from the commitment or signing day, if you will, because it's like kids today can just go like, okay, well, I'll go here. You know, but if I don't like it, I'm out, you know, and it's like almost like they're just doing test trials or test runs, if you will, sometimes, you know. You know, one of the things that I've always liked what Dabo has said was, you know, steel sharpens steel. And it's like what you said earlier, you know, when you're helping the next guy below you or whatever to, you know, help him out, you know, that steel starts sharpening steel. And you got these kids that are coming in and they're like, oh, well, I don't think I'm going to get the playing time that I thought I was going to get. And they're like, all right, I'm out. And it's like a lot of these kids, if they would just stay, they'd probably develop and be better than what they probably would be if they didn't transfer.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look, a lot of the guys that transfer, I mean, okay, Joe Burrow is probably, an example that, okay, he went from one to the other and prospered. But how many kids transfer and then you never hear from them? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes when you commit to a school, that's what you should be. That's why I don't think anybody should verbally commit. In my opinion, I've never liked the verbal commits just because it's so easy to say, okay, well, I changed my mind. Just don't commit until it's signing day. Yeah. I know coaches don't like that, but
right. Because you want a head count as a coach, especially now, but it really doesn't. You're right. It really doesn't even feel official, even when you sign your name on a dotted line, because if you don't feel the same way a month later, it's kind of like the divorce rate now. If I don't like you anymore, we're gonna quits. And so that's what's tough is there's no process of reconciliation on the behalf of the student athlete and the NCAA and the school, right? Like it's kind of like, all right, I'm done with you, X. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, where's the love, right? Like where's the commitment piece, right? And so to me, I equate love to commitment, right? Like if I fall in love with said school, it's not about the coaches, it's not about anything else. Like it's about me and my relationship with that university. Yeah, so how I've always looked at it. It's not so much as transactional, but it's transformational, right? Yeah. Like education here is going to transform my life later there, right? Like I'm living proof of if you stay in the pocket long enough and you don't move off your post, you'll get what's yours eventually, right? Like I got my NFL, but this is my NFL. I live a really good life, right? Yeah. Like, and the reason I live a really great life is because where I live it at, right? And so whoever's out there listening, mother, father, parent, sometimes it's best to stay grounded where you are and stay planted somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. Like we oftentimes want to pluck our seed up, that we've planted, and it's not the season to do that. And a lot of times when you miss your season for growth, it's because you wouldn't allow that seed to develop.
Yeah. And, and I'll understand the point where, some recruits, like you mentioned earlier, if it wasn't for Venables, you probably wouldn't have came to Clemson,
Yeah.
But if he recruited you and then right after you say, I'm in, and then he goes to Oklahoma to be head coach of, Oklahoma, I can understand a little bit where a recruit would say, oh, well, I'm only coming there because of this particular coach. I can understand that being part of the transfer portal, but I don't know. Sometimes I get a little frustrated when I see a kid come in and then just call it quits because they didn't get the starting position.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it happens a lot.
Especially
quarterback.
It's hard because now you think about, you don't call it a franchise tag, right? But essentially it's a franchise tag, right? Yeah. So it's like there's no such thing as two QB1s, right? Like it's either QB1 or QB2. Yeah. And if I'm not QB1 and if I hear QB2, I'm offended. Like off the rip, right? And so I'll be very blunt and honest with you, and I can say this because this is my guy, and I love him, and he knows that. And shout out to Kelly Bryant, because I think a lot of people miss this point, right? Mm-hmm. Like Kelly Bryant was in a dogfight even before the season started to maintain position and post at quarterback one. Mm-hmm. However, he starts out as quarterback one, and we wouldn't be in a position that we're in if he didn't believe in himself to go out there and perform like quarterback one versus Texas A&M. Because at that time, Trevor was a young quarterback developing, right? And he had to fully come out onto the scene. And so both of them were technically QB1 that game. And if we didn't have both of them being QB1 mindset,
what a game that was.
We wouldn't be that 15-0 perfect team that people talk. I'm just being real, right? And
how often is Trevor Lawrence walks on campus?
That's the hat I got on. I had it in embroidered 15-0.
Come Come on.
But hey, look, I saw a lot of fans that were just upset with the whole Kelly Bryant, blah blah blah. I was one of his biggest supporters. I to this day, I still support Kelly Bryant. I still wish he never would have left.
Right.
I get it. I totally get it, but I wish he never would have left.
Yeah.
I liked him. I love watching him play.
Right. Right. But situations, right? They present themselves in odd ways, right? Like that was an odd situation, right? And he made a decision. But
yeah.
Thank God he made the decision and it didn't impact us before that game, because if we'd have lost that game, we wouldn't have been that 15-0 team. So he's still, even in his departure, left behind one of the greatest gifts of all time, which was the win over Texas A&M, which
And I think a lot of people will agree. We wouldn't have won that game if it was just Trevor Lawrence. Right. I mean, granted. I mean, you can't deny Trevor Lawrence was one of the greatest quarterbacks we had come through the program. But I don't think we would have won that game if it wasn't for Kelly Bryant.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yep. Yep.
So tell us about your book. What's your book about?
Man, so the man is greater than the brand. A lot of times people submit a resume and you're like, okay, cool, that looks good. But who are you really? Right. And so what the man is greater than the brand does is it's my resume of who I really am, right? And who I really do in life. And it's not the roses and petals version. It's some knives in there, right? It's some things that deep, right? Because I start with the boy and I lead you up to the king, right? So that's 13 years of development from ages 11, 12, right? Like going from being a disengaged learner to now becoming a world-renowned scholar, right? And traveling the country and sharing my story. And so there was a process in between of going from one thing to the next called becoming and unbecoming. So many things, and unlearning and learning so many new things. And so what the book does is it basically talks about how, your character outweighs your reputation 10 times out of 10. And you can try to fool people and hide behind a brand, but the man is going to come to the surface at some point. And the man is ugly, right? Like the internal man, the one that we sleep with at night and we got to wake up with and take a shower with and then put our clothes on and then get in the car with him and then get to work or whatever. That's what I'm talking about. Not the person who flips on when you get to work and it's like, I'm trying to be that person that I said I was on my resume,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are you in the process of writing any others?
I actually am. So being that this book did really well as a bestseller, I'm looking towards making the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal bestseller. So I've actually been working with a group, John Gordon's partner company. He has a mentee by the name of Alex. Streamline Books is who I went through and who I worked with, and they were phenomenal in helping me produce my first project.
Yeah, nice. I met with a lady yesterday. I'm coming up with a book.
Yes, go. Let's go.
I was talking to her and I said, "Look, man, my mind's all over the place. She says it's going to be we're going to ghostwrite it, so we're working on that. I've been asked to do it a couple of times, but I just never thought I could have a book published.
You could do it. There's always a book in you, man. I'm telling you.
I'm sure that. It's been a wild ride. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We had Taj Boyd's mom on a couple weeks ago, and she was a great guest to have on.
Yeah,
and I'm actually excited to hear about the book that she's supposedly going to try and work on, and that is the mother side of the recruiting stories, and she wants to get other mothers involved and kind of be involved with giving their thoughts on the recruiting process. And I was like, that's not a bad idea right there. So
yeah, that'd be good.
But I'm excited. I'm going to try and get a copy of your book soon here, and I can't wait to see your next one. And
where do we buy the book on? Is it online
on Amazon, or you can go directly to my website? That is richyearg.com. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And as soon as you get your new one out, we'll get you back on here and we'll talk about that a little bit, whatnot. And so anything else big coming up?
Man, so the Men of Color Summit that Clemson hosts every year, I will have a room and I will be live and presenting on April the 12th at 11 a.m. at the Greenville Convention Center. And I also will be live and in at the spring game. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all there.
We'll run across you.
With you on the live show at the Shepherd Hotel.
Nice.
Yeah, come see us. Come see us.
And we're actually trying to get I think we're trying to get a golf team together for the orange and white event too, I believe.
Yeah, the Buckingham thing. Yeah, we're going to do a golf team.
Come on.
You play golf?
I do. I'm not Tiger Woods, but I will.
I'm not either.
I'll play captain's choice, and I will be a fun time on the back nine. Put it that way. I'm a fun time on the back nine. The first nine, I'm a little upset because I'm trying to find my rhythm, but the back nine, we can talk. We can talk some and enjoy ourselves.
See, on the back nine, that's after you've gotten all the swing lube, right?
There you go. Now you just don't care anymore. Now you just like, you know what?
It's like, look, I'm already,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I play probably about once, twice a week. So I'm not the greatest golfer in the world, but I can hold my own. So
Walker or Boscobel?
So what was that?
Walker or Boscobel?
I'm not sure what that is.
Walker Golf Course or Boscobel Golf Course?
And
I'm trying to get more into walking, but
walking, okay.
Walker, like Walker, the golf course, the Walker course, or Boscobel. Which one would you prefer to play?
I haven't played either one, but I'm hoping to soon.
You haven't played
Walker? I make Clemson 40% of my time. I live in Spartanburg. I play around here. Yeah, I'm moving. In the next year, I'm moving over there because I'm over there. I'm leaving early in the morning. I'll be over there till Friday.
Yeah, I'm actually in Charlotte, so
I've
got a lot of courses around Charlotte.
You're in Spartanburg. Okay, you're in Spartanburg. Okay, I'm in Simpsonville. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I assumed that y'all were based around the Clemson area for some reason.
I'll be there. I'm there half my time. I spend 50% of my time and 50% because I'm over there doing Clemson.
I grew up in a little town called 6 Mile.
Yeah, okay.
I was there for a long time, and my dad actually used to work for Duke Power, so that's how I got from the Charlotte area to the Clemson area, and then back to the Charlotte area. So, I try to get down to Clemson as much as I can, but yeah, I'm here in the Charlotte area, and so I play a lot of the courses around here. But I hope to get over to Clemson and play the courses that they have there soon.
Yes, sir.
But
yes, sir.
And I think the orange and white is at the one course right there at the campus, is it not?
What's the one on Cherry Road? What's that? What's the name of that?
That's the Walker. That's the Walker course.
Walker, okay.
That's the Walker course.
I mean, I never know the name of it.
I think that's where the orange and white deal is going to be, I believe.
Okay. That's what I was assuming. Yes. Pretty good course.
Yeah, pretty good course.
Now, speaking from my dad, I know he played a few of the courses over there when we were growing up, so I probably been to it and didn't realize I was there because I was like 9, 10, whatever years old. But yeah, I play in a golf league, once a week. So, I'm not the greatest golfer in the world. Don't get me wrong, but I can at least hold my own a little bit.
Come on.
But yeah, we're trying to get something together for the orange and white weekend. I think we're trying to get a show down there as well. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll do something down there, Wayne and them.
Yeah. I can't wait to get down there and try that food he was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
The food
that he's having for the orange and white?
Yeah.
You been to one?
Catered. I have not.
This is my first one.
I'm actually planning on going to this one.
Okay.
Oh,
sweet.
sweet.
You play golf, maybe, we'll see you down there. We don't see the spring game.
Yeah.
Come try to see us.
I am. I'm gonna try to see you at the you said at the Shepherd Hotel prior to the game?
Yeah, I'm meeting with them. What he said last week, I'm meeting with him Thursday, and we're trying to work something out. They got a 3rd floor up there, restaurant bar. He wants instead of having it like in the main thing down there, he said it's gonna be too much traffic. We're gonna have it on the 3rd floor.
Okay,
I'll have the details in time.
Stop by. I'll come stop by. I'll have Uber Queen or whoever, if you all share your contact information. And
sure.
Yeah, I'll reach out and come see you guys on the day of the
Yes, and I don't know if you've heard. I'm sure everybody has heard now. Breaking news with the ACC.
Oh yeah, I didn't talk about that.
I knew it was
I
time.
posted in the group. I said, breaking news. I said, you're an hour and 38 minutes late. I'm like, I just looked at my phone. But
when Florida State did what they did, that already prompted me to say to myself, okay, when
I thought it would happen sooner.
I thought that's what I'm saying.
They're talking about, in October, they were talking about it. And it's just kind of been.
From everything that I've seen, heard, and read, you know, the ACC wasn't the issue for Florida State not being in the Final Four.
Right.
You know, the committee, you know, went just this off the wall, off script, like, you know,
that
thing. And I don't know why Florida State wants to blame the ACC for that, but seeing Clemson's now jumping in on this lawsuit thing, that I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's blown up, or it's not going to happen anytime. It ain't going to happen. It's going to take. This is going for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And we may not even win, so we don't. You know, everybody's like they're out. Well, not really. It has to go to court. So they can go on for 2 or 3 years.
And and if Florida State leaves the ACC, I mean, from what I understand, SEC doesn't even want them.
Right.
So if they're going to go anywhere, it would be the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Where's Clemson going to go now?
Does
SEC want Clemson? I don't know, but I don't know how. I'm a diehard ACC. Like when it comes down to bowl games, I pull for every single ACC team, even if I hate them with a passion. It's bowl season. I pull for an ACC team.
Yeah, I get it. I
hate to see the ACC fall. That's just me.
ABB, anybody but Bama.
I tell you what, though, it shows just how much control college football doesn't have anymore, right?
Yeah.
So the NCAA, when you really think about it, and I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm gonna just say this: the NCAA is losing its grip on college sports. It's clear, right? Yeah. So when you look at it, it's almost like each team individually becomes like an LLC, almost like the NFL, and can pretty much say, what does it cost to buy you out, right, as minority over us, and for us to then move forward into a better, more advantageous situation from a financial number standpoint and an overall competition standpoint. Because, I mean, not to say that the ACC is weakened by adding all these other teams, but it almost like when you add Stanford, when you add SMU, when you add all these schools, right, like, the pot has to be spread even wider with more people. And that's kind of, in a way, that's kind of unfair, right? Like when you're Clemson and we've brought so much to the ACC, and now it's like we're still having to dish out and take. And so
they were talking about today on the radio. I was listening to Roar coming home, and they're talking about it's almost getting like professional, where college football is going to be like the minor league. Right. It's going to be split down the middle. You have the East and the West, and everybody's playing. And that's kind of what it's, it's kind of like a minor league team.
Yep.
And 5 or 6 years ago, you wouldn't even see that.
No.
And that's what it's going toward.
Right.
Yeah.
And, if you're not a big college, if you're a good, really good player, a lot of times it can come down to the bidding and NIL, the money, If you want to go to this college offers you more money. It's just like professional.
Right.
Sports.
Well, Florida State was just recently hit with a lot of sanctions on, NIL violations, apparently. So, is the NCAA trying to make them an example for everything? I don't know, but there's got to have to be some regulation, because now, what Clemson lost one of our big time defensive guys, or was I can't think of his name right now. It just went out my head, but to Texas, I think it was
Cuba.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I couldn't believe it when I saw that he was leaving. I was like, are you serious? But from what I understand, one of his favorite high school teachers or coaches is now part of the Texas staff. So I can understand a little bit of him wanting to be with his old high school coach, but was there recruiting violations there? I don't know, but there's got to be something that's going to have to come in and start to regulate this, because otherwise it's almost like the Wild Wild West again in college football, if you will.
Yeah.
So, now that, the new football games coming out for video games.
Yeah, the EA Sports.
Yeah. So, how's that going to play in? Now, I know a little bit about it because I'm a big video gamer, and I've been up on that because I've been waiting 10 years for that to come back.
It's 2014. We ain't dropped. We haven't dropped since 2014.
So that was like right about the time you were coming in. So I almost got to play with you.
You almost did, man. I got come on.
I know it was like, right, you know, if I pull up I still have the 2014 game. If I pull it up, it's got Sammy Watkins, Taj Boyd on there, you know. But you know, like I said, I know that they've worked out deals, and you know, if you haven't heard, there's already been one big name, if you will, to opt out of not being in the game, and that's Arch Manning, or Archie Manning, I guess is how you say it. So there's been a lot of controversy over why is he opting out? He's not even a starter. So, but you know, I think the NIL is a good thing. I think players should get some kind of money out of it, you know, and I think it's going in the right directions, but man, there's just so much. I think college football wasn't ready.
Right.
Like they should have probably came up with way to govern it, how to rule it, like kind of thing. Cause now it's almost like I said earlier, it's like almost like the Wild Wild West out there with it now, right now.
Yeah. I think when you look at it, right, like it's kind of hard to judge who's wrong and who's right, because there is no wrong and there really is no full right in this situation. So it's kind of like who's going to step up and, you know, make it known that, hey, you know, from a policy standpoint, these policies that we have in place just they're not consistent. They're not matching up with federal versus state versus, you know, everything is just kind of like everybody's lobbying and wanting this in this state versus in that state. It's different in California than it is in Texas, and then in Georgia versus Florida. It's just like, it just shows us where we are really collectively as a society. But at the same time, like, we have to move forward as a society and stand on a firm decision that's going to basically realign the entire.
Whoops, lost him.
Oh man, I think we lost him. Let's see if it comes back on for a minute here.
A little bit. Maybe the battery went dead.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, I guess we can end the show on that note right there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You know, hey, just to give a little shout out, baseball beating Duke, and
man, our baseball team, strong. Came in number 3,
and Duke winning right now against some.
We're playing Winthrop earlier, and we were winning 3-0. I think third, fourth inning. Number 3rd in the nation. We've only lost one game, and that was against some weird team, and we got killed.
We have one loss to Duke but we won the series, but. You know, hey, that was a big win over Duke. So,
yeah,
because Duke, I think, was number 3 in the nation. So,
what do you think about Friday basketball?
Oh,
we'll see.
Yeah,
I was watching ESPN, and they're talking. They came in about who you see as an upset or first round or whatever, and Clemson popped up automatically. And 2 out of 3 were saying that Mexico State, right? New Mexico.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I think we can win the game if we show up. You know, if we have the Clemson,
that's it. Who shows up?
I think we have a great chance of winning. So,
well, I mean, that's the thing about Clemson basketball. It's who shows up. If it's the team when we played North Carolina, we can beat anybody. If it's a team that played Boston College, anybody can beat us. It's just not consistent. I'd like to see us go somewhere. I'd like to see us. I mean, win the Sweet 16 twice. So, I mean, the talent's there. But I love March Madness. It's just And if I don't have a dog in the fight, I pull for the underdog. And I'll tell you who. And I'm not an NC State fan, but I remember the Jim Ball.
We got him back. Here we go.
Oh, he's back on.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, we got to talk a little basketball. We lost you for a little bit, so we got into the.
Sorry, I got disconnected.
Yeah, no worries. We were just talking about baseball and how they had a big win and talking about the upcoming basketball game. So
yeah. March Madness is fun.
Had a comment from Chuck Duncan right before you went out. So apparently he got to see you at Fan Appreciation Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate they don't have that anymore.
I know.
I met Dabo for the first time, and I was sitting there, I was wondering what size, you know, I had my shirt, I got Oblate Arts Attire shirts out. I was looking at his wife's size and everything. I figured, well, he's this. large and a medium and all. And I got up there to him and I said, "This for you." He said, "Oh, I bleed orange." All right. So he signed my hat. We went over, and Fox News came over and got us on TV. We've been waiting. It was in August, man. We're out there in the sun.
Come on.
And you either see Trevor, I want to see Dabo. So probably after about 2 hours, you're out there in 95-degree heat, got the air conditioning locker room, and we're fixing to leave. And we got over, they started interviewing us on Fox News, and Dabo's right there. You see him on camera, and everybody they interview us, and we're talking about the upcoming season. And this must have been 2018. And everybody's like, Tiger chant, Tiger chant. So we all started doing the Tiger chant. Dabo and all them got on there, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think basically COVID stopped the fan appreciation day.
Yeah, that was 18 when I was down there.
And then obviously with the NIL stuff, it kind of made it tricky once we got back, because now it's like, to pay for, so all that just kind of, it restructured things. As I was mentioning before I got cut off, it's all about the realignment and the restructuring of things, and that doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable for everybody, right? But it's the new world we're in. This is the new normal, and if you don't get with it, you get rolled over. So you
change
progressive minds.
Well, that's one of the things that I love, that Clemson is trying to be one of the forefront of the universities to try and have like an NIL center and a lot of stuff. I mean, Wayne being part of that, and he wasn't able to talk to us too much about that, but completely understandable. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great to see the universities trying to get on the forefront of that. So
Yep.
Well, like I said, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
We really enjoyed this.
It's been a great show with you on here. I'm happy for your book. I can't wait to see the next book.
Yes, sir.
You'll be able to see a replay of this on YouTube. You've got a YouTube channel, and you're on a Facebook page.
Yep, I got a Facebook. Yep.
Okay, it's going live. We're going live right now because we've got like 32,000 people in there. So, and then it goes from there. It goes to all these other outlets.
Yeah,
but,
we're we're on the ground base right now with this podcast.
So, we started. I started the network, and then we started doing live shows. And somebody suggested, let's do a podcast. And called some guy, Duncan, and his son used to kick. Anyways, lost his number. And the craziest thing, it was right around Thanksgiving. And I didn't even know Rob. He's in the group, and I don't know how you got my number, or you inboxed me on Facebook.
Yeah, I sent you a PM.
Yeah, and I'm fixing to go out of town for Thanksgiving. I said, "It's Thanksgiving. Let's look at this on the way after Thanksgiving." So, what's that guy's name? Anyways, the guy you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What's his name?
I'm bad with names, by the way.
Oh, it's not a normal name, but anyways, he contacted me and said he wanted to get the rowing team on our podcast. We didn't even have a podcast yet. I said, sure. Because we had already talked about doing one. I said, we did it in about a week. So I'm calling my IT lady up, calling Rob up. We got all three of us on the phone trying to figure out how to do this stuff. And it was the first week in December. We had our first one, and it was the row team. Jenny and Anna down there in Jacksonville, Florida, are setting a world record by going from like North California. They're going to go all the way.
They're going from Monterey Bay. They're going to be in a rowboat from Monterey Bay to Hawaii.
Wow.
And then went from there. We've been getting NFL, ex-NFL players, NBA players, all these people. And it's just kind of taken off.
Come on.
Yeah. So you're in that groundbreaking, foundation of the podcast. So I can't. Like I said, when he told me you were coming on, I was like, man, I'm excited.
Man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we're like,
they say
Gary Butler's assistant's like his computer got hacked. So when you contacted me today, I was in Greenville, and he said, we doing the podcast tonight. And I said, yeah. And I thought it was just going to be me and you. So I was driving home, and then Corey, my sales guy, sent me the Uber queen.
Yeah.
You need to contact this person. So I got home, I contacted her and led me to you. And I'm like, you didn't even know that. We didn't have him till like 3 o'clock today, 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah, she contacted me.
Worked out.
Hey, she was like, hey, you need to jump in on this show. I was like, man, anything I bleed orange, I'm with it.
Yeah.
I could devote my time to that. So
you know, the Facebook page has just, you know, grown exponentially in the last, you know, few months, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And
It's
you know, we're you know, myself and Josh, we've been trying to do a lot and trying to grow it, and
we're at 20,
mainly keep it just Clemson fans and Clemson people. So you know, we don't really try to let too many UGA guys or Gamecock fans in there.
I wake up, I got 300 something requests. You got to go through. I got like 11 people helping me out on that thing. It's got crazy. We were at 20,000. We're right at 21,000 at the Duke game. And
wow.
We're fixing to hit 31.
Wow.
We've had 300 people come in this week, so it's going. And then the other group's got about 32. But, you know, I was at a Clemson game sitting on the 50-yard line. I'm looking around the stadium, and I'm saying, you know, there are 88,000 people here. And this time I think we had about 25,000 in the group. And I said, well, you get 80,000 people a game, we could get this thing up to 100,000.
Yeah.
So it's the way it's grown in the last since December is crazy.
Yep.
We like to have fun.
Well, Professor, I guess that's what we have to tell you now.
Class more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you're in Centerville. You got class every day over there, or you?
So I teach mostly online. So the
online, so you don't have to go over.
The beautiful part about what I do is I can do it from sitting right here. Majority of the times, however, I do have to go to class 2 times a week. Once virtually online, usually in the evenings, probably from like 5 to 8 on a Wednesday, and then on a Tuesday I go in. I'm on campus from 5 to 8, and believe it or not, old Drew Sweeney's in class with me. So you know, it's an honor.
Nice.
To be sitting next to your
former good grade,
son, and getting his PhD too. So it's definitely a neat process.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally say you're the student who becomes the teacher now.
Yep. There you go.
Yes,
well,
sir.
Professor, it was great having you on, and you know, can't wait to see anything new coming from you. And we hope to see you on spring game, and let us know when that new book drops, and we'll get you back on here.
Oh
yeah, I will. Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, thank you all for having
me. We used to try to do the Clemson chant to end our cast, but
that chant doesn't work on that.
It's timing, like the videos.
We always do, like,
we all get discombobulated and whatnot.
Yeah, when I do my show at the end, everybody does the Tiger chant.
Right.
We tried to. You know Ben Hall? Ben Hall, he played for Clemson. He played for Tennessee Titans. He's a wide receiver, but he's got a business here locally.
Yeah. That
was the last time we tried the Tiger chant. We tried, but it's usually like
it doesn't work just with the timing of the video, and it just, I don't know, we all get like off from each other. So but we can say go Tigers.
Right. All right. On the count of 3, go Tigers.
Yeah.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Go
Tigers. Go Tigers.
I'll be there, baby. Woo, woo.
There we go. Let's go.
All right.